Welcome to the Political Matrix News. We have the sources, we have the truth from inside the political matrix. Welcome to the Political Matrix News. I'm Rob Milford. We're live right now as we record this, even though it goes to, well, you can't even say tape anymore. We kind of record it digitally, and then they come back and they edit. They put in sound effects and pictures and all sorts of crap like that. So let me adjust my camera, otherwise known as the top of the laptop, and make sure the whole head is in play. Greetings to Greg Fink from Gainesville, Florida. Wave at everybody, Greg. Say hey.
Hello, guys.
No, I said
hello.
Hey.
Hey.
Good.
Hey together.
Scott Miller is in the western gateway to the west. What is it called? Western Gate
to the Sunshine State.
There you go. That would be more or less Pensacola. You say good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
See, he did that well. He's a highly trained professional. We do want to invite you as we go through all of this to please humor us, okay? I mean, it's really kind of important. We're three lonely guys sitting in our basements, and we really would appreciate a like, a few shares, maybe a subscription or two, okay? Do the best you can. I mean, I only have 5 email accounts, and I've subscribed on all 5 of them. But that's the only crowd finagling we've done, because after that it requires a budget. There is plenty of stuff to talk about when it comes to the politics of Florida, and there's plenty of stuff to talk about what the hell is going on with Kamala Harris. How could it be? How could it be, gang? 3 weeks ago, a week after getting shot in the ear, Donald Trump was on the 12th of July, prior to Trump getting shot, he was leading Biden 46-41. Now, as of today, through all of the consolidated combined polling, it's Harris at 54 and Trump at 46. What the hell is going on? It makes me crazy. Because people are buying the flavor of the week in Kamala Harris. Here's a woman who has so much baggage, she could fill a 747. And I'm not kidding. If you go back to her time as a prosecutor, a DA in San Francisco, then the Attorney General of California, then U.S. Senate candidate, then vice presidential candidate, oh my God.
Right.
Am I missing anything, Scott Miller?
No, I mean, and I'm honestly not surprised that she's not really talking to the media about her record, because to do so would be, would really kind of expose who she is. She can barely put together a sentence to begin with, let alone something that's going to, come out of left field with something that she's not ready to address. So, I mean, I'm not surprised. Really and truly, as if I were Donald Trump's team, I would be relishing the fact, and to an extent they are. J.D. Vance is doing a great job of talking about the record, and then her lack of discussion of their record. And in fact, he's getting very valid critiques, I think. And all you get is radio silence or some half-hearted surrogate coming through and getting their butt handed to him half the time, saying things like, "Well, if only J.D. Vance had been in the military."
Sports fans, he was a United States Marine. Once you go through your boot camp, basic training at Parris Island or San Diego, you earn the title of United States Marine. No other military branch does that. None. So he was a Marine. Just like Gomer Pyle, just like Sergeant Carter, just like Lee Ermey, Gunny, as we called him, just to keep it all in scale and perspective. Just like Greg Fink, as a matter of fact, who served in the United States Air Force, working on F-15s, going supersonic toe-to-toe with the Ruskies. Actually, at that time, they were commies, not Ruskies. And what? Shut up, commies. Okay, well, you see, Greg Fink made sure those F-15s did exactly that, flying basically inverted over the Russians and giving them the international peace signal. Pretty accurate there, Greg?
I don't know. My area was on the engine, but so the plane could do that exactly, yes.
Well, you didn't screw the pooch because they all came back in one piece.
Oh,
and
We're good.
both engines operating. So that has something to do with it. Now, who is running the Harris-Walz campaign? There's a really good question. Who is that? Anybody?
There are certainly a lot of theories abounding.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we have Barack Obama as one theory. Maybe David Axelrod along with Barack Obama, who knows? But I think that's the main theory, is that Barack Obama is basically leading the party, as he has been probably for the last several years, and in continuation is leading this campaign.
Pretty much the last 16 years, if you want to do it, really point it up precisely. The last 16 years, his reign has lasted longer than Hillary Clinton's or Bill Clinton's, interestingly enough. And Kevin McCarthy, the former Republican Speaker of the House, ousted by our favorite writer, Rita, Congress dude, Matt Gaetz, by Matt Gaetz, now says, without a doubt, he said Obama's pulling the strings. The whole Harris-Walz campaign is full of former Obama staffers, not Biden staffers, Obama staffers.
I mean, Biden staffers were Obama staffers.
Well, I
Biden
know.
was also an Obama.
Not entirely. Not entirely. But, to me, I think it's kind of a dumb talking point anyway, because the only people that's going to outrage are Republicans, and the Democrats are going to say, so there are some grown-ups at the table taking care of things, so we can safely vote for these guys.
I actually think it actually helped credibility of Kamala's campaign. So it's talking about it in kind of, a muted point. And in fact, there's more or less, I think, is feeding the beast of the Democrat Party and the Democrat apparatus. As far as we want to talk about the top of the ticket being excited or not, if they knew Obama's part of the top of the ticket, they're going to be very excited. Our whole idea of getting Democrats not to turn out as much for a general election is to have a non-excited ticket. Now putting this out there excites it. So it's kind of like, kicking yourself in the ass at the same time.
Which is
a difficult talking about it.
Difficult thing to do. Among the others in the Harris campaign, David Plouffe, Plouffe.
Exactly.
He was Obama's campaign manager in 2008. Stephanie Cutler, campaign manager in 2012. And she is the senior advisor for strategy, messaging, and yes, there are more. Jennifer O'Malley Dillon worked on both the Biden presidential campaigns. Jennifer Palmieri was brought in to advise Doug Emhoff. Really? He needs advice? I mean, shut up. Sit over there. Eric Holder, the attorney general under Obama, handled the vetting for Tim Walz. And I think that's kind of interesting as well. A lot of Obama staffers were hired to work on the Harris 2024 campaign. This is by far, McCarthy said, the most liberal ticket in the history of American politics. We do not want the U.S. to follow the trail of San Francisco, California, or Minnesota. So, and by the way, he also says it was a huge mistake to pass over Governor Josh Shapiro in Pennsylvania.
It was.
And I think, what?
I agree.
Yeah.
I very much agree.
All right. So he said, why would Harris skip Shapiro? Is she not going to stand up to her own party when they want to attack Israel? She wasn't there when the Prime Minister of Israel came to speak to Congress. That's her role and responsibility as president of the Senate. He is absolutely right. And I think that, I don't get this. I don't get this. The Republicans are happy
bringing him back
send
alone.
aid in the form of weapons to Israel to make them to be competitive on the battlefield. And the Democrats are slow walking it through.
I have to cut this part out.
The Democrats are slow walking it through the process of getting that aid all the way to Israel. So again, the problem, Republicans have no problem voting for bombs for Israel. It's the Democrats that are slow walking that money to the allocation from the Department of Defense. And it just makes you furious. When are the Jews of America going to wake up and say, oh, wow, the Democrats don't like us? And don't forget, somebody else we talked about it last week. Somebody else pointed out that the Democratic Party is rife with pro-Palestinian and anti-Semites. The Democrat, how the hell could that be? How could that be? Oh. Wait a minute. They're like Roosevelt, who didn't allow Jews fleeing Germany and Austria and Poland to come to the United States because he didn't want to, throw the U.S. U.S. society out of balance by admitting 10 or 20,000 more Jews. Remember, he had a ship full of Jews he would not let into the U.S. and made sure that they were turned away at every port, and he was a Democrat.
Yes.
Anybody? What?
That's kind of historical, it looks like.
Well, I mean, that is the history of the Democrat Party. I mean, they were the ones that founded the Ku Klux Klan.
And they found the anti-Semitism and everything else. Obviously, it seems like here in America, and it stands to reason that they are treating the politics of 2024 the same way as it did of 1924. And so, I mean, it's just a huge 100 years later. You know, they keep saying they don't want to go back. They're back.
Okay? Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They don't go back. They're back. And that's just a reality. They're the same racist, evil party that wants to keep people under their thumbs so our government controls all your ideas and all your abilities to aspire to be a higher self. And you have no individual liberty to do it on your own without the government putting you right back down to where you started at. You can't.
Well, I mean, it's like the story today, about the EU warning Elon Musk about his interview with Donald Trump, and that it wasn't just hate speech. What was the other word that they had about it? It was the EU. It was hate speech and false. No, it's not false narrative. What are they calling the false narratives? They call
fake news. How about fake news?
Oh, that's Republican.
Fake news make a difference.
Republican.
Okay.
Fake news is a Republican term. They call it. I don't know. They just say that everything that comes out of a Republican's mouth is a lie without actually. Right. You notice that when they make the allegations that Republicans or anyone is lying, especially Trump, they never tell you what he said that was a lie. They say that he's lying, like their big countdown of Trump's lies in the Republican convention. Or in the debate with Biden, he had lied 30-something times. They say,
but they can't identify one of them. Yeah, which is the first one?
Oh, they make a long list. They just don't tell you. Oh, well, during the speech, I counted 37 outright lies.
Exactly.
You're correct. They do not list them. They do not scroll them. They don't talk about just, he had 37 lies in that. Let me tell you about the EU, okay? They don't have enough room to park our cars. Their metric numbers don't go high enough to account for all of the money we have. Everybody in the EU wants to be in America. They've got to have America, or else they go like that. Well, I mean, come on. We've been footing the bill for NATO for, almost 70 plus years at this point. And none of them are commie anymore. None of them are commie because
the whole thing,
it's
like everything going on in England right now. Everything going on in England is, an extension of what the Democrat Party is. I mean, they're saying that if you stand up against the government on social media, you're going to be arrested, or you're going to be a cop. Or, I mean, it's just totally ridiculous. And that's, I think, a step forward psychologically over the Democrat Party of America wants to take that step if Kamala Harris were to become president, because this is the new Prime Minister of England, and this is their new policies. And so I do expect America to be going down the same slippery slope if Kamala were to get elected.
The Washington 100%. Post is already advocating for that, because if you remember a couple of days ago, they were asking the press secretary if she thought that the government or what could the government do to suppress these false narratives.
And then you have Elon Musk and Trump.
What these guys don't understand is that it is actually that the Constitution actually does defend your right to, even, I'm not saying that what Republicans or even Trump is saying is wrong, but even if it were wrong, even if it were an outright lie and a fabrication, it is constitutionally protected speech. So saying that it's the government has a responsibility to protect us from that is in direct violation of the Constitution.
I think that might be a lot of the timing with the Elon Musk and Donald Trump interview, all those scheduled days before this happened in England. The timing is just perfect about, how the freedom of speech on social media platforms is imperative to a nation knowing everything about the thoughts and the speeches and everything about the people who are wanting to represent them, wanting to run to be their leaders, and having no filter whatsoever to go ahead and tell them what they think they said or what they could have said or what they might have said but what they did say. And so I think that the entire idea that Elon and Donald Trump did that, and Elon even offered the olive branch out to Kamala or anybody else to do the same methodology with him on his platform, is basically a big finger in the face of the England people who are saying, we want everybody to not attack anything or have limited speech or limited freedom on social media, or else we're going to come after you.
Well, Elon Musk had Don Lemon on his show, and they couldn't be more disagree. They couldn't disagree more than they do with each other.
No,
exactly.
They don't.
Yeah, they have the freedom to.
That's the kind of conversations we have to have.
The kind of freedom we had to have.
Right. Don't forget, she doesn't want anybody to. Kamala has said nobody used the word weird, and nobody used the term. Is it illegal aliens or just illegal immigrants or something? She doesn't like those words. There's nothing wrong with either of those words or all of those words. They are accurate. They are accurate. And
they're legal terms.
And George Orwell reminded us all those many years ago that in the future, good would be bad and bad would be good. And I started that when I was kind of younger, but going, dude, that is so bad, which meant it was good. But now, when we're grown-ups and the fate of the nation is at stake,
It's kind of what Paul Harvey said, if I were Satan. Paul Harvey had this incredible news interview. Everybody doesn't know who Paul Harvey is. He was a very good storyteller back throughout the 60s and 70s and all the way up until he passed away just, I guess, 10 or 15 years ago. But he had a dialogue on there, like, if I were Satan, this is what I would do. And basically, it really dictates the entire diatribe of actual realities of the liberal party, the liberal left, throughout the last 40 years. In fact, we're going to go ahead and take a real quick second here and listen to it. It's just a real brief 5 minutes. We're going to listen to it. You guys be patient with us. When we come back, you're going to see the reality is that we are looking at.
If I were the devil, if I were the devil, if I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness. And I'd have a third of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves, until each in its turn was consumed. And with promises of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions, just let those run wild. Until before you knew it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. Within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing. I'd have judges promoting pornography. Soon I could evict God from the courthouse, then from the schoolhouse, and then from the houses of Congress. And in his own churches, I would substitute psychology for religion and deify science. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. If I were the devil, I'd make the symbol of Easter an egg and the symbol of Christmas a bottle. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious. And what'll you bet? I couldn't get whole states to promote gambling as the way to get rich. I would caution against extremes in hard work, in patriotism, in moral conduct. I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, that what you see on TV is the way to be. And thus I could undress you in public, and I could lure you into bed with diseases for which there is no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing.
Yeah, Paul Harvey was, before there was a Rush Limbaugh, before there was a Howard Stern, there was Paul Harvey and his sway on radio nationwide. I mean, coast to coast, was not touched by anyone else in the radio industry until Rush came along. Paul died in 2009. He was 90 years old.
Wow.
And with the exception of about an 8 or 10 month period when he lost his voice, lost the very same time that Rush Limbaugh lost his hearing and had to get the cochlear implants, but that was from his abuse of painkillers. So there you go. Again, we are the Political Matrix News. I'm Rob. There's Greg. There's Scott. More coming up in our next episode. So like us, share us, love us, subscribe, please.